Yeah, it took longer than I thought. I'm already past the ads. Hi. Hi. MJ, you're first. Clearly, you're not first. Congratulations to you both. um, I decided what we're making. Not very long ago, but I did decide what we're making. Um, so, as per usual, I found some discount produce. This time it was tomatoes and some bell peppers. I think the bell peppers are going to last a little bit longer. We're using up a good chunk of the tomatoes because the tomatoes. MJ, you remembered. Thank you. I'm old now. You can tell by the way my hair is falling out. Um, I had a great birthday. I didn't want to stream on the birthday, even though I just kind of was a sock most of the day, but it was fun. I had some very nice sashimi for dinner to cap it off, and that was very lovely. um, Tomatoes. Some of them are looking a little bit sad already. We're going to use up all the sad ones. I've got 6 of them set aside. I might even grab a 7th because that one was looking a little bit sad. Throw it in. Because I'm making marinara. And of course, if you're making marinara, you have to have oysters and shrimp and salmon. So the explanation as to why this is going to be more interesting than it sounds. Marinara is mariner's sauce. Like literally, the name comes from the mariners. Um, and I, I may be mistaken, but I believe that it started out as a seafood dish. It's going to be tomato based. The thing is, the tomatoes also came in from the ports because they were imported because they weren't from Italy. Um, thought marinara required cheese sticks. Hi, Mags. I don't have cheese sticks, but I have cheese. I have bacon as well. There's going to be some bacon in mine. Hi, welcome, welcome. So I've got shrimp. For one thing, if you remember from the last time I used shrimp, um, the shrimp was getting a little bit freezer. Not the nice shrimp. We used the nice shrimp. The regular shrimp. It was getting a little bit freezer burned. It's been in there just a wee bit too long. So we're using the lot, the whole shebang. MJ, a watch streak, 15 watch streak. Even though I snuck one in there on a different day to try to throw off watch streaks. Good job. Um, I've also got oysters in juice here. Very small, too far away for you to see. I picked those up because I thought maybe I'll do a po' boy, do a deep fry. They've been sitting in the freezer for a while. They're all sealed up, so they should be fine. But we're going to use those today as well. Thaw those out, use those today. Um, and then I was going to not throw in more stuff because I've got so much stuff. We've got salmon in the freezer. You've seen it. Um, but if I got the fresh stuff, I'll use the fresh stuff. It was $2. It was $2. It's not a very big piece, but for $2, how can you say no? So some salmon, and yeah, we're gonna kind of build. It was either this, or I was going to make ketchup. It was one of those two things. Those were our possible things, and we're going with this, which means that we're gonna have to do ketchup some other time because I have never done ketchup. Um, yeah, and I'm hungry. I deliberately had a light lunch because I had a late lunch. So I had a late, light lunch. I'm very energized. I had a great day yesterday. It's left me very, like, peppy. Um, I've got a new pan. I'm going to show you my new pan. Um, We can't use it today because I'm not making the thing that it calls for. But I got this pan. It is a crepe pan specifically. You know, from that time that I made crepes. Because you guys said, hey, you should make crepes. And then I made crepes, and I had a hard time making the crepes. Well, we have a crepe pan now, which is also supposed to be good for pancakes, blini, tortillas. I do want to try making my own tortillas, my own corn tortillas. Marinara crepes. I don't think we're making marinara crepes. I'm making it. I am doing a pasta. I could make my own pasta. That's not not a thing we could do. Anyways, this needs to get its. It needs a bath because it just came out of the packaging, and it needs a test drive, but it needs a bath first, and it hasn't gotten one, so we can't use it today. Perhaps next time. Perhaps I'll do a bonus with that one. Your brand new pan always needs a bath. Yeah. So that's the plan. That's our plan. Staniel. How's everybody doing today? How was your yesterday? I didn't see any of you because, of course, I was off birthdaying, but my thoughts went out to specifically Clearly Studley on my own birthday. I'm not sure why, but that happened. Anyways, we're going to throw some oysters in there too. That's going to be weird and fun. I said I wanted to practice crepes. So we're going to practice. Now that I got a bespoke pan for them, I can practice crepes. What part do we start with? Probably start with, if I make my own pasta. We're not getting out the roller. How long does this have to rest? I always forget how long pasta is supposed to rest. I'm just looking, come on. I know it's a basic recipe. Rest for 30 minutes. Yeah, that should, we could do that. We could make pasta. We could make a homemade pasta. How much flour do I have? Tons, loads. Too much, in fact. I've even got some semolina. Okay, so I guess we're gonna make pasta today as well. Remember this board? We haven't seen this board in a while. It took a break from being my regular go-to board so that it could be a little bit less warped, really dry out, and that super worked. Oh, right. All of my pots and pans are currently in the other room here because I'm doing an experiment where I see which ones I actually use and which ones can be quietly retired. We're doing sauce in a wide pan today. We need to start with bacon. It's actually pretty lean bacon, which isn't what I was going for, but that's the bacon I've got. I think we're using a mixture of fats. There's a smidge of our pork jowl drippings in there. I think I'm going to accentuate our bacon with that. Because this is a pretty, it's pretty lean bacon. This is specifically some Oscar Mayer, some of the lowest quality bacon available on the market, which is fine for using in like a recipe because you're not emphasizing the flavor of the bacon. It's going to get buried in so many other things that we won't even mind that it's not all that good. Jay! Thanks, Jay. You remembered. Gosh, you guys are so on top of things. How's it going, Jay? You know, Jay, and before we found the tomatoes, we're doing tomatoes today because I got tomatoes. Before we found the tomatoes, my mind went to the old Canada because I was going to try poutine. Have you ever had a mushroom gravy poutine? Because beef's really expensive. Anyways, we'll probably do that later because it's in my mind. It's something that's on my mind, so we'll probably do that at some point. But the bag of tomatoes took precedence today because they're going to go off real quick. But yeah, the reason my mind went to poutine was I got a bag of frozen French fries for $1. Everything's for $1. Everything costs $1 these days in jovial household. Okay, so the bacon, which was unusually lean, is going to be supplemented with the end of our pork jowl drippings. And I won't be draining off any additional bacon fat today, but I do in the future when I get fattier bacon, because this bacon is not fatty enough, strangely. We save, I'll wash that one because it's empty, but we save our bacon drippings. And I suggest you do as well. It makes an excellent cooking fat. It is essentially lightly salted lard. Ruya, hello, hello, welcome, welcome. I'm also giving this a shot of olive oil for flavor. And the bacon is salty, so I shouldn't need any. I'm not going to start the heat on that, but we're getting that ready to go before we get too stuck in on other things, because I don't want those to burn. I find that Oscar Mayer bacon, in specific, burns very easily. And it's probably because they put too much sugar in their cure. And I bet you they do that so that it gets brown and crispy more easily, but that means that it burns more easily too. Not a massive fan of that, personally. So that's going to sit there until I get over to it. Then we're sliding back over. We're going to dice some vegetables. I have considered it. I've considered those long form things before, and I'm a little leery because there's an awful lot of downtime. But we're starting with tomato. We're getting a good sharp knife for these. We could do Lego in the downtime. In fact, we're working on acquiring some Lego right now. We're popping the little stem ends out of these tomatoes. Discount tomatoes. Got a big bag of them. I don't like the stems. These are very firm, so they'd actually be good sandwich tomatoes. But they're also kind of developing some spots, so we are going to aggressively use them, which means sauce. Yeah, I mean, for reduced tomatoes, they look great. Um, it was a bag of 14 tomatoes. These are the worst ones. The other ones are much nicer. Probably going to take that spot off as well. But otherwise, these are literally the worst ones in the bag, uh, and they look great. Oh, that's too bad. I've actually had that. I've had bad luck with potatoes showing up in the bin, um, and I think it's because they don't get put there until they're really old, because they don't really look like much as they're starting to go off. It takes a while for it to really set in. Uh, it was 14 of these for $1 in the bargain thing. Empanada. Good evening, Star. Your name means star. That's how you introduce yourself. I'm not sure how empanada means star, but thank you so much. You remembered. Everyone's remembering of their own accord. How are you today? Nada. And everybody's late to the birthday thing because I did not stream yesterday, so no one had a chance. These are actually some even gooder looking tomatoes than I initially thought. Spear, thank you. Getting ahead of the game on that one. Unlike the rest of you. Yes, several of you did jump into the Discord and got it on time, unprompted. It was honestly, honestly, I was surprised and I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much. I should just be chopping these right here and then scraping them off into that bowl. Mish knew a week ago. Well, I got guess we know who the stalker is. Or possibly just the only one who pays attention. I kid. Or do I? No, I kid. I appreciate it. Big appreciate. I have streamed for my birthday in the past. This year, I kind of just wanted to sit around and be a lump. Uh, so that's what I did. And then went out to dinner so that I didn't have to cook. I was initially considering cooking for my friends for my own birthday. Because I do enjoy cooking, but a lump. A lump I was instead. But yeah, I went out with my friends to a nice restaurant here in town. I got a sashimi dinner set, which is something that I quite enjoy and only get for special occasions. One of the fish on the service was something I'm unfamiliar with, and I didn't ask what it was, but it was quite tasty. And there was one that I was guessing was mackerel, but I didn't ask, and I wasn't sure. Not entirely sure why I've been chopping these literally one slice at a time, but I have been, and it's definitely using up more time. Should be doing them like this. Ooh, this one smells very extra tomatoey. I was tempted to go full bore and unfreeze the periwinkles to add to this, but man, I'm still not sure about those things. Whoa, 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 hold on, hold up. Don't spring this on me. Coming in my house, gifting me my subs, while my hands are all gooey. Bookwoman, bookwoman, hello. Thank you for the gift subs. You got MJ, Empanada, Crawdalt, Gatopino, and Bob. Oh my God. Those are like all amazing people. How dare. How dare. How very dare. Thank you so much. You kicked off a hype train. Level 2 right off the bat. Yeah, Bob. I said what I said. I made a statement. Ooh, that onion is looking a little bit worse for wear. So that onion is the onion that is getting onioned. You got MJ in there too. MJ always shows up at the beginning of streams and then scurries off. Grabs that first and then scurries away. Well, thank you so much for the birthday wishes, for the birthday sub gifts. I think you got almost everybody who's. I haven't seen Ghetto Pino yet. But I mean, getting people who are actively here is always nice. Wow, this is a quite the onion. Quite the onion I'm working with here. Wow, onion fighting back. We're just ripping off a whole extra layer because this one is fighting back. Got a little bit dried. Got a little bit crusty on the outside. Good one to use. Good one to use in a sauce when you don't need to worry about what it looks like. Although, I need to wipe this down. What's everybody doing for dinner today? Or breakfast, or midnight snacks, or whichever. You know, time zone stuff. So my goal is to mise all of our plus before we jump in. So there will definitely be some standing and stirring and chitting and chatting. We're throwing in 1 hot pepper. I have a serrano here. Definitely not tradition. Which we are at least partially seeding out. I got a thing. I got this one. I said chitting and chatting. It's spelled approximately how you spelled it there. Up to 1 letter off. Knock the majority of those seeds out. I'm not going to be real picky. Oh, you know. I mentioned ketchup, and then that I didn't do ketchup. With that chinois I picked up, That's the kind of thing that would make for actually quite a nice ketchup. Because the problem with homemade ketchup is usually that you can't get it very smooth. But that is exactly what a chinois is for. Remind me not to touch my eyes or nose for a while. Because I just got both hands all up in that serrano pepper. And we are going with a bell pepper because this is my house and this is how I want to do it. Our sofrito should be with carrot, but screw it. Nuts to that. Again, knock at least most of the seeds out. I will be getting the celery, though. Do I want to add celery? Yeah, I should add celery. Gosh, the day after your birthday, at least for me, I don't know about you guys, day after your birthday feels like a fresh start. This feels like the new year to me. The actual new year never really feels quite as new year-y as the birthday. Feels like it's a time for fresh starts, for trying new things. Okay, and then some celery. Birthday resolutions? Well, the main one is the same one that I declared for the year, which is I would like to slim down the tummy here a little bit. I think my liberal use of butter and all the wild cooking with you guys has packed on a couple of pounds. I should also make the resolution to like get the bot enabled and do channel things around here that I put off all the time. It was suggested, and it was a good suggestion, that I should get the bot ready for this stream right here as a surprise for the birthday. And I super didn't do that. It was a good idea, though. It was a good suggestion. So I guess pertaining to the stream, I resolved to get the bot set up so that we can do like some kind of interactables. If we're going to do longer things too with the downtime, I should get some kind of a background music going. So that I don't have to continually chatter for like a long one. Like a ketchup making stream. Ketchup takes a long time. I don't know if you've ever made ketchup. It takes a while. It's not a fast recipe. Okay. Tomatoes, aromatics, garlic. You'll recognize this garlic. It's the previous garlic. It's the other half that we saved. We will just use the remainder. Because it's kind of dried out and... One little teeny tiny blemish on that one. And then we can get the sauce going, and then I can think about whether or not I actually want to do my own pasta. Or just use packaged pasta. Do we make rough rustic pasta to go with our Marinara's sauce? Ooh, probably should do that today. Haven't made pasta in a minute. We're not getting the roller out. We're doing rustic. If we do it, we're doing rustic. Nip the little rooty bit off. We're not pulverizing this today. We're going to... Chef! Hi, Chef. Are you also birthday? For indeed, it is the age of Aquarius. Hi, Chef. Mine was yesterday. It has passed as well by one day. I didn't stream yesterday. I decided not to, well, that's the way to do it, not to stream for the actual day of this year. I have in the past. I didn't when I did when I did Lego Optimus Prime, that was for my birthday. Or was it the Lego Pirate Ship? One of the big Lego projects was on my birthday. Because it felt very low effort, but something that I would enjoy. Whoa, 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 whoa. Chef Pete. Chef Pete once again in the house, coming in from left field. Bob, you brought the people again. Whoa, 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 hold on, shout out. Spell that with an L. Hard to spell. The chef, okay, well, I'm just gonna copy it. This. Misha's here too. Oh my God. Raiders, hello. Raiders, hello. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Bob, for bringing the Raiders. We're making marinara, and I promise that's more interesting than it sounds. Chef Pete made leftovers, crispy pork and goose breast tacos. Oh my God! I got to check out this this Chef Pete fella. That sounds amazing. I had a whole bunch of ideas of what I might have made today. One of them was carnitas. Oop. Nope, 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 nope. No live. No, I opened a window. It made a noise. Well, follow is dropped. I didn't follow last time, foolishly. Follow is dropped. I will check you guys out in future on a... It looks like you streamed just before me, so that would be a good time to do it. Actually, peek in while I'm doing my prep. Okay, so tomatoes, aromatics, garlic. No schedule. Okay, well, then I'll have to keep my eyes peeled. Basil. Basil is there. You know what? This would be a good time for these things. You guys don't know what these things are. You guys don't know what these things are. Ooh. Odorous is what these are. They are not fermented sardines. They are plant-based, not animal-based. Although, now that you say that, you know what would be a good addition here? These things. These things. We'll throw a couple of those in. These are ramps. That I initially blanched and froze, and then later, when they were taking up a lot of room in my freezer in blanched form, I took them out of the freezer, thawed them, and dried them. So they are a little old, but they've been preserved this whole time, initially by freezing and then by drying. They're very crispy dry. But they should give us some fun dimension. Honestly, they're dry enough that I can just break them up with my hand. I should have done that, which was the goal. So I didn't really need the knife there. Yes, they are a wild relative of garlic and onions that is native to a good part of North America. The good part of North America, not what I meant. I mean like a substantial segment of North America. They're not really a farmed thing. They're a wild forage, and it makes them very, very seasonal and very sought after in certain places. Yes, some places they grow extremely abundantly and you can just have as much as you want. In other places, because of their desire for them for culinary reasons and poor harvesting practices, they're quite hard to find. What you're supposed to do when you're harvesting them is cut them off at the ground so that the root can regrow. But they are often pulled completely out for harvest, which kills them. These were harvested by cutting at the ground level. Which is how you're supposed to do them. But yes, before harvesting them, make sure that they are not protected in your area, because they are protected in many areas due to over harvesting. The fish elements are only going to go in at the end because they will cook very fast. We don't need those now. Yeah, I guess we're going to start cooking. Slide over here. Our bacon, little bit of pork dripping, and olive oil are in. We'll get the heat on, get them all rendering. This would also be a good opportunity / time to add fish flavoring things. This thing that I got out when you guys were guessing what the ramps were is in fact dried anchovies. And I'm gonna just chuck a couple in there. Dried and frozen anchovies. We're gonna chuck a couple in there. They're not super salty, unlike the ones that you get in a can. But yeah, so I have the ramps, and I need to use them. They're tasty. They're the kind of thing, though, that I don't eat too much of them. If your gut is sensitive, they give you the toots. Especially in like large quantities. And I'd rather not have the toots. So, oh, I know. No, not clove, not dill. Fennel. I am putting in some fennel. I think that's going to be a good flavor to add here. I'm putting it early so that it has a chance to really like get toasty with the oils at the beginning. Oh! Hold on. I was going to do something, and then I forgot about it, and now I have to backtrack. Real quick. I was going to do this in the same pan, and I just forgot about it. Hot fish, or cold fish, hot pan. And all I want to do here is cook it just enough that the skin releases so I can peel the skin away without going through that mess that I always go through when I try to take the skin off of a piece of salmon. Because you're not supposed to start these skin down, but I'm not cooking it through. Cooking it temp. This salmon still has a fin. This salmon still has one fin. Don't eat the fin. Fins aren't good eating. Tropic Waters. Hello. 100 bits. What noise would you like me to make with my mouth for 100 bits? Because I guess that's the thing that I do. Also, hello. Zelda. Zelda. It is not currently my birthday. Zelda. It was yesterday, and I didn't stream yesterday. So it is the birthday stream today. Hi, Zelda. How are you? Thank you. You remembered. Anyways, we're lightly cooking this just so I can get the skin off. Which shouldn't take very long. And then that stuff has to all go back in the pan. Where's my... Use this spatula. No, I'll use the steel spatula. We're in the steel pan. There's no reason not to use the steel spatula. We're sticking. We're sticking. We've stuck. We have stuck. But as you can see, the skin is letting go from the fish, and that was the goal, to get the skin off the fish. And then this stuff can all get right back in there. How's it going? Everyone who just arrived. Raiders and post-raiders. You know what? I'm going to juice this just slightly with anchovy paste, just a smidge more anchovy. Juice this up a little bit. If you don't like anchovies, get over yourself. Cripe's sake. I kid. I think a lot of people don't like anchovies, and I think a lot of people don't like anchovies because they have tasted anchovy by itself. And it is definitely very strong by itself. But a little dab in something as a savory flavor booster is a winning ticket. We're going to cook this until the bacon is rendered fully, but not getting too brown. We're going to slide over here. We're going to see how well this has worked. And it seems to have worked pretty well. To just peel that skin right off. Peel that skin right off, and then I don't have the skin to worry about anymore. And I'm not going to save this one for any special things this time. I know it feels like a waste. It feels like a waste to me as well. The fin on there is a little bit awkward. I'd have to cut the fin off if I wanted to eat it. Anyways, that is my new method that I've actually used before, so it's not new, and I should have remembered it last time I tried to skin a salmon. For skinning salmon, it's just heat the skin side, and then it should peel off. Let's we'll use this bowl because I already got that bowl dirty. Let's also cut up our fish real quick. So Zelda, and Zelda specifically, but anyone else can chime in as well. Um, what's for dinner? I find much like a school class, singling someone out elicits more responses. Um, sorry about that, Zelda. Bean and cheese chimichangas. That sounds good. Protein pasta, ground turkey red sauce, and a shitload of cheese. Jay had a stir fry without veg. Mm. So you had some fried meat, huh? Hey, you know what happened over here? That thing that I mentioned, Oscar Mayer bacon, it burns real fast. It's already getting quite browned. No burning, but I can smell it. So we are going to throw in all the aromatics to take up the heat. I don't think I'll be getting Oscar Mayer bacon again, even unless it's on absolutely ridiculous sale, because it's not very good. I think I actually got this on absolutely ridiculous sale because because it's not very good. I think I got this bacon for $1 a pound. Maybe even less than that. Like, Bookwoman is having broccoli potato soup with leftover kale and Polish sausage. What makes a sausage go Polish? Pinch of salt to that to help sweat those out. We're going to turn the heat down a little bit because I think we're going a wee bit too hot over there. The type of bacon where $1 a pound is too much. It's whatever they put in the cure. It makes it burn really fast. And I guess that's why it's sliced so thin, but this isn't sliced that thin, and I don't know, man. There's so many better bacons. The thing is, there's just so many better bacons that aren't even that much more expensive. The one that I'm working my way towards is the one that's just end cuts. But anyways, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Let's throw in the ramps. They can hydrate a little bit. Oh, actually, what we need to do is... Okay, it's decide time. Am I making my own pasta? Or am I just using dry pasta? I'm making my own pasta. We have to do it now if we're doing it, so we're doing it. We're doing it in a bowl. We're not doing it on the worktop directly. I don't want to make that much of a mess. Let's give that one more stir. I can really smell the fennel, which is good, I think. We want this to kind of work its way down. I'm getting low on flour from the old flour tower. I do have a fresh flour, I just haven't put it in the tower. So we don't have a shortage of flour. It's just not been toured. Queerly wants a very studly moisten, and I shall oblige. Moist. I hope that was satisfactory. Basic homemade pasta. I pulled one up on the side. It has what, 3 ingredients? 4 ingredients, if you count water, which I'm not. And one of these ingredients is salt, which I'm also not really counting. We do want to grind the salt quite finely. A little bit more. We don't want bits of our crunchy salt in our finished pasta when we try to roll it. Oh, I got that out to beat an egg because I need 1 egg. Egg. From this one. One egg. We no longer have those eggs that had the really dark, beautiful, dark orange yolks. I went through those. These are going to be a little bit less intense and amazing. I'm going to stir around my sofrito real quick. Yeah. We want all those things to get really nice and soft. This is getting beaten with chopsticks. Which has become my favorite way to beat an egg. I think it's, at least for the way I do it, more effective than a fork. And I don't always want to have to get out a whisk, and I find chopsticks super convenient. Zelda, you're not first. Congratulations. Speaking of whisk, we're getting out a whisk. A tiny one. A tiny one. The big tiny one. The long one. Because that salt was not combined. Get that back toward the middle and make the little thingy. Add egg to stuff. And that's it. That's the entire recipe. You have made pasta. There it is. Finished pasta. Oh wait, I haven't done it all yet. Start with the spoon, push the flour into the egg. And then start trying to force it to stick together. And if it's too crumbly, we add water. It's way too crumbly. So we add a smidgen of water. Oh. It's still very crumbly. It needs moistened. I'll tell you what. It needs to be wet enough to pick up all the flour and stick together into a ball that you can knead smooth. It doesn't take as much water as you think. It's surprising how well flours will hydrate. And it's a little bit harder to take the water back out. So we're hesitant to add more water, but we're adding some more water. You can always add a little bit more flour if it gets too wet. It's actually easier to add more flour. which we have handy, so that's good. Just gonna add just a pinch. I think we're looking like we can get it out and start kneading that part together. Once it mostly holds together, you can take it out of the bowl. Or if you started it on the worktop, then don't worry about taking it out of the bowl, because it's already not in a bowl. Before I do that, we're going to slide over to our sauce, because the sound of it turned on me, and that is a sign that the bottom has dried out, which is good, but also means we can't ignore it. Okay. Make a space in the middle, throw in our garlic. Garlic will burn fast. I'm not super worried about burning. In fact, I used a pan specifically that I knew would burn a little bit so that we could do the fun thing with the fond. Which is going to require some wine, which is also going to amp up our flavor. Temperature comes back up. We stir this until the garlic is fragrant, which will take a little bit longer than normal because I didn't crush it, I sliced it. But that also means it won't burn as fast. But this, at the bottom of our pan, all this dark brown stuff forming, that is our fond. And in this case, more than a little bit of it is coming from sugar. Again, from that bacon. But when you've got that, you can pick it up with a splash of wine. And it makes the bottom of the pan, other than that little spot right there, clean again. And then we don't lose those flavors. This is looking good to my eye, so I'm going to take all of our tomato. I think our temperature can stay there for now. And this is the part that I knew I was going to have time to do other things. Because the tomatoes will have to cook down. And as they do, they're going to give us a lot of liquid. We'll get them stirred into the mix there. I'm actually going to have to grab the lid. Okay. Tomatoes in, a little bit more salt to help them express their moisture, and I've got to go find the lid, and then we can get back to our pasta dough. That pasta dough. Where's the lid? Lid? Little. No, I washed the lid. Did I wash my lid? My little? I did. little lid. Temperature to a little bit lower. Okay, back to the side. Over yonder. Our this. Which is definitely not correctly hydrated. It's slightly too sticky. But that should also improve with kneading. We're going to use it to pick up every little scrap and bit and bob off of the worktop, though. So long as it is slightly sticky, you can do that. When's the last time you made fresh pasta? And if it's been a while, why not? In this stage, we just need to develop gluten. Otherwise, your pasta will come out more like soft dumplings. Clearly, he's never made pasta. Bob is singing. It's been a while. Well, clearly, have you been watching? It's actually, other than the fact that it's literal effort, literal physical effort to knead it, making pasta is not that hard. This is an egg pasta. You could make a non-egg pasta, which is then suitable for drying, which is not something I've done. They're much stiffer doughs. The egg helps bind these so that you don't have to make it quite as dry. A dry, non-egg one can be quite a challenge. But already, our dough is looking very doughy dough. It's a little on the soft side still. But yeah, that was one egg, 1 cup of flour. I did not measure out the flour exactly. I just gave it a big old scoop. Because it honestly depends on how big your egg is. Ideally, you get the right amount of liquid from the egg that you don't need to add any water. But if your dough is too dry, add a little bit of water. If your dough is too wet, add a little bit of flour. That's it. And then just do this. It was a little bit sticky when we started. It should, as the gluten develops, get less and less sticky. As the stickiness sort of sticks to itself and forms those really strong bonds that we need if we're going to make noodles out of it. If you've got a mixer, starting this in the mixer is a good idea, but you will still need to do some kneading, at least in my opinion. I'm sure there are no knead versions out there, but in my opinion, it gets stiff eventually to the point where the mixer doesn't really keep up. Flamingo, hello, hello. How are you? Welcome, welcome. What's for dinner? This is my dinner. Ready for Friday. I have terrible news. Anyway, what we want this is to be when you roll it into a ball. Sort of pinch the bottom together. You ideally want it to be very like almost like skin smooth on the surface. Ideally, I don't think we're going to go quite that far. This one's sliding around a little bit, which is great that it's not sticky. It's quite soft still, so I'm not going to add anything to it. I think we're just going to keep kneading. But that's why it's a slightly small ball of dough. I think this would actually be easier to knead if I did a bigger ball of dough. Just because it'd be, for my hand size, easier to get my hands around it. Ugh, I'm switching off my hands because it gets tiring as well. This is one of those things where, yeah, don't get in a fist fight with somebody who makes their own pasta all the time. It's a lot of forearm strength. I'm just making one little tiny ball for myself. Oh, speaking of forearm strength and things that I'm making for myself, I intend, that can sit there for a sec, I intend to attempt making miniature bread because I got this. A teensy tiny bread loaf pan. It's about as long as my hand. It should be enough to make one sandwich's worth of bread. MJ is falling asleep. Good night, MJ. As always, pictures will be posted, probably lots of places after this one, because I posted going live all over the place. But very reliably in my Discord, pinned at the top. I have not been timing how long I've been kneading this. I've just been trying to go by feel. Knead 3 to 4 minutes until smooth. And then let rest. Okay. Pick up that little bit. I mean, it's pretty good, honestly. Mr. Jovian, yes, that's me. You have a question. Ask your question. Mr. Bob. That sounds like a personal problem, Bob. I hate to say it. Okay, this is going to rest. Stretching the ball so that it glutens itself a little bit more. This is going to be wrapped tightly. I I made that into a question, but wrapped tightly. To rest. Okay, let's go take a peek at our sauce. The weather actually was nice today, interestingly. We got up into the 20s. It didn't snow. It snowed yesterday, but it didn't snow today. Our tomatoes have started expressing their selves. It's going to take us a minute, a wee minute, to get these guys really softened up. We're probably going to have to go at this with the masher, but I wanted to get them stirred in. Looking good. It's looking exactly what I wanted to see. Don't want that to dry out. Putting the lid back on. Do you have bad weather down there, Bob? It was bad weather up until like just yesterday when it got up into the 20s. It was a miracle. Yeah, I was excited about the 20s. I was very happy. I didn't put on my big hat when I went outside. Get the flour off my fingers. We need to peel some shrimps. So that's going to be our next stage, is peeling shrimps. Stop doing that, shrimp. One of them wants to float out the side of the pot, the bowl that I've been thawing them in. But just one, and it's annoying me. Why does that one float? All the rest of them sank. Okay, these guys. Remember these guys? Remember? Recall? Anything over 10. Yeah, it was double digits, and we were all like literally 12 degrees. We were all excited because it had been so freaking cold. But hey, remember these guys? These are our freezer burned shrimps. Turns out, I can't, even though they keep better with the shells on, they still don't keep forever with the shells on. And as a result, also they're taking up a lot of room in my freezer that I still have a problem with. So we're going to use all of these. They're going to be the primary meat in our sauce, in our meat sauce. We're essentially making a fish meat sauce. Mariner's sauce, which should be made with whatever seafood you have on hand. And if you have all of the seafood on hand, then it should be made with shrimp, mussels, and squid. Which I know is a very specific combination. I think it's supposed to be made. I think it's supposed to be made with. Yes, you remember when they were younger and covered with ice? They were, in fact, mostly encased in a big block of ice, which is another reason. Did you hear that? My fridge just started making a Not a very loud noise, but a little noise. Which it looks like my noise gate is grabbing, but yeah, these were encased in quite a block of ice, such that I kind of had to thaw out all of them at once because the block of ice. Uh, Hence, we're using all of them. Because now that they're thawed, they really aren't going to. I don't want to refreeze them. They're not going to hold up more than like a day now that I've thawed them out. So I could have more shrimp tomorrow, but we're going to cook them. Shellfish tends to go off quite fast. We're not gonna run risks with this one. Flamingos never had shrimp. I'm incredibly shocked for two main reasons. One, how they're like common, and two, you're a flamingo. They famously eat mostly shrimp. We gotta fix this, bud. We gotta get you some shrimps. Some shromps. Some shrimpies. They do smell like shrimp. I suppose if you don't like the smell of shrimp, that's gonna be a hard ask, because that's the smell of them. I just think it's like oceany. Like clean oceany, not stank beach oceany. If your fish smells like stank ocean beach, it's gone bad. Don't eat it. Oh, well, maybe steer clear from shrimps then. Or have a formal allergy test rather than tasting shrimp and seeing if it causes problems. One of those things where they give you the little arm dab. You don't really want to mess around with shellfish allergies. They tend to be quite forceful. Okay. That's the shrimps. That's the shrimp shells. The shrimp shells are going in our shell bag for a future project. I do not concur with. I concur with Bob's second statement of disregarding his own first statement. Hooters does not have good shrimp. I actually haven't never had it, but it has a reputation. Not as bad as like strip club buffet shrimp, which is another thing that has a reputation. Our shell bag is quite with the blue cheese. Blue cheese and shrimp. Why would you do such a thing? That just sounds like it would never be good. Anyways, shrimps. Let's slide back over to our pot of good. Ooh, very juicy. Tomatoes have a lot of liquid in them. And when you cook them, it wants to come out and into the pot. This is good for making things like sauces and bad for making things where you don't want all that liquid. Okay, that is going to get relidded. I've got another element, and I want to add some of it. Now, we're going to give this one the sniff test before I commit it, because I'm moderately hesitant. It is this. Me Tompkins Fresh Oysters, which I froze. And they are in their own oyster juice. So we're getting them out of there. And we're looking at them. There's a little bit of ice right in the middle still. So we will break that up. If you're squeamish about seafood at all and have any issue with textures, boy, should you avoid raw oysters. They are briny, slimy. If you like them, they're tasty. Yes, it is in fact the liquor, the oyster liquor. So there was a little bit of ice in there, so I broke it up and I'm gonna let it sit in the liquor. I'm gonna let it sit in the liquor to try to melt the last of that ice, because then I want to fish the oysters out. My fridge is like making airplane takeoff noises. Because I want to add the liquor to the sauce. You used to eat oysters as a kid. Well, I bet you don't have a shellfish allergy then. I still don't know if I'd play around with it, but those things will trigger a shellfish allergy. Put my wine away. Not a medical professional. Not a medical professional. Do not take this as medical advice. But I want to add the juice from the oyster to this. And I want to smoosh this. That is also possible. Allergies do develop over time. They also sometimes get better over time. I'm going at this with the potato masher. Because also I think it is time to start cooking it down a bit. Now is the time also when I want to add my basil. We didn't add the basil earlier. We're adding it now. Probably for the best. Jen! Jen! Hi, Jen. How's it going? Someone did say birthday. I think someone said birthday. Big handful of homegrown basil. Jay is in the house. Sorry, Jen is in the house. Jay is also in the house. But we knew that. The Jen is coming from inside the house. Okay, that is looking much saucier. It's always going to be kind of a chunky sauce. It's always going to be kind of a chunky sauce. We're going to throw the lid back on that while I attempt to separate the oysters from their oyster blood. This is absolutely not what I thought I was going to do with these oysters at all. I thought I was going to make a po' boy. And that thought occurred to me, and you're going to look at me like, "What the hell?" That thought occurred to me 4 years ago. That is how long these oysters have been frozen. Now, there was no airspace in there with them. And they were in the juice, so they kind of froze into a brick of ice. So I'm not worried about their freshness in terms of spoilage. But man, did they kind of sit around for too long. And as a result, I don't think that their texture is quite up to scratch for using them in the traditional way. Hence, I'm going to chuck them in this. Yeah, you want to see the lid? The lid has the date on it. Sell by 1/6/22. I definitely purchased them before that date and froze them. Froze them immediately as well, because I knew I wasn't going to get to them right away. So they have actually been just rock solid frozen for 4 years. Anyways, the juice goes in. Juice goes in, lid goes on, get to broddling. I'm on the cusp of doing that sometimes, Flamingo and Queerly, which is why I have such a continual focus on I got to take stuff out of the freezer. Every time we cook, we got to get something out of the freezer because there's definitely stuff in there that I purchased with good intentions or on sale, and I need to get to, such as the oysters. They're getting used right now. since they're getting used, I guess the next one up is going to be, who knows? We got 2 things out of the freezer today, though. I know what I should do next. I know what we should do next. We could have done it as part of this, actually, except there's already plenty of seafood in this. I could have done it in place of the salmon. I've got some lobster in there. Definitely worse for wear. It was, and it's not tails, it's just claws. It was just a package of claws that I got after, not this New Year's, but a previous New Year's. Because they wanted to get rid of the claws. And shell on shellfish does keep quite well, so I grabbed them when I froze them. But they've been in there a while, so we got to use them. So, and they take up quite a bit of room because I got the shells on, so we should probably use those. Honestly, it's looking better. I have been aggressively using things out of the freezer. I have been aggressively using things out of the freezer whenever possible. Although I've also added some things. Lobster pizza. We could do lobster pizza. I don't think that sounds very tasty, personally. I think lobster dries out when you bake it. I think that the worst typical restaurant service for lobster. Let me slide up here. Less bargain bin, more freezer. Yes. Well, the stuff in the freezer came from the bargain bin. That service where you get a lobster tail that they've like taken the tail part up and out and it kind of rests across the top. I think those are so freaking dry. I think that is a waste. It looks pretty, but man, is that a waste of good lobster. Just don't do it. Just leave it inside the shell. It's juicy and steamy and delicious in there. Take it outside, put it on top. It gets all dry and fibery and we've got some project level things in the freezer as well. One of them, here, I'll show you one of them. This one's a recent acquisition. Apparently it's a load-bearing acquisition as well. Those were hot dogs. This, which the outer plastic could come off. It doesn't need to be outer plasticed. This is a brisket. This is a brisket that I got for 20 bucks, marked down from 60. And I could not pass up that deal, and I plunked it in the freezer. It does have an outer layer of just cling wrap that it does not need because there is an under layer of just the plastic shrink wrap that it came in. Take that off now. There. Hereford brisket, center cut. Marked down from $58.80 to $20.99. Kind of a ridiculous markdown. And it was not the only one in there that day. There were more than one. I only grabbed one. Somebody else was right next to me grabbing one as well. So that's going to be a project at some point. We'll do that. That'll be one of those longer project ones. Granted, that's only been in there for like a week now, so no risk on that one so far. Did I put my pot holder? I did. I don't have the kind of smoker that you mean. I do have a smoking thing. It's a metal tray that's supposed to go on the stovetop and smoke in the house. Or in the oven, which is probably more sane because then the oven can contain some of the smoke. But honestly, I don't know how it's supposed to work without just getting very smoky. Um, but I don't have like a traditional smoker. This is looking pretty good to me, this sauce. It needs to thicken up, so we definitely aren't putting the lid back on anymore. And I think I want to move it to the back. We've got fresh pasta. It's going to want to cook just before I want to eat it. But we can shape it and cut it so that it's ready to go before that. I'm just going to let that simmer. I'm going to let that simmer. It's on a fairly low heat. It's just going to simmer, thicken up, turn into a nice saucy thing. As it gets closer, we're going to throw the seafood in to cook in there with it. Yeah. And ideally, the picturesque way to do the thing that I'm doing is to have whole mussels and calamari rings and whole clams and shrimps with the tails still on, so that there's all these little shells in there when you serve it. I'm sure you've seen that with like pasta, red sauce on top, and in the red sauce are like whole shellfish sitting around. The mussels open up, the clams open up, all that kind of thing. I don't have anything shell on except the shrimps, and those shrimps had little flimsy shells, so we didn't want to put those in this. So we're not doing any of that, which makes it easier to eat, but less picturesque. Also, my oysters keep producing juice. Now that I've used these and I'm not making a po' boy with them, I'm more tempted to make a po' boy. I've been wanting to get into more bread. We've made bread a few times. I tend to make more elaborate ones. I kind of really just want to nail down a good same day, like 2 hour max sandwich roll. And that would be a good time to also make a po' boy. Which is one of my favorite sandwiches. If you've never had a po' boy, check it out. There's probably somebody nearby that makes them. Let's see. So the sauce is saucing. We're going to need a pot for potting. As previously mentioned, all the pots are in the other room here. I put all of my pots and pans in another room, except for the cast irons that are hanging on the wall, just to see which ones I end up bringing back to the kitchen to use. And eventually, I will go back to the room where I put them and observe the ones that have not moved, and those will probably go back to the thrift stores that I get all my stuff at. So far, this pan and the pot we're boiling the water in. How much time is spent on this dish so far? Well, including my chit chat, we're closing in on just about 2 hours. But a lot of that is sauce making. Sauce takes a while. Sauces aren't the fastest things. Uh, Oftentimes, sauces are also very low effort. You just kind of have to be around and push them and stir them every once in a while. Uh, Make sure the bottom's not sticking. Uh, Bread in the air fryer. Interesting. That little tiny bread pan I showed you guys just a minute ago, or I suppose 20 minutes ago, that would actually fit in my air fryer. So perhaps I should look into that, because that would be way more convenient than firing up the whole oven. Because this little guy, this small, like it's meant to be some kind of a cake pan. But it's small enough that it fits neatly inside of my multi-pot. So as long as it doesn't rise up to the level where it touches the coil, it should be just fine. Because I want a little loaf. That's another thing. I want to make a sandwich with a little loaf. Sandwiches. Okay. Stir around our sauce. Turn the heat up just a smidge on it so it'll cook off some more of that moisture. We should also taste it now so that we can adjust seasoning if need be. It should be, ideally, very savory, moderately salty, and kind of spicy. Very tomatoey, very sharp acidity, savoriness, a little bit of spice in the back. Just tastes like a really good tomato sauce right now. If you you could stop here. A little bit of brininess in the back. You could stop right here, throw that in a blender, and you'd have a really nice sort of like tomato sauce, all-purpose marinara sauce. But we're doing a weird thing with it. I'm not going to boil the water yet. We're going to let that simmer. We're going to shape pasta, I guess. The fishes all need to move over. The fishes all need to move over here because they shouldn't be by the pasta. We don't need that, but we do need a nice clean work surface. So, actually, we need a nice clean work surface. So we're gonna actually give it a scrub down. Oh, yeah, we've got some a little bit of dough stuck on the worktop. that dough. That dough. Okay. That dry us off. Dried. I need a place to put the noodle nest. It's just going to be this guy. Yeah. And we unroll our pasta noodle. At the moment, we just have the one big noodle. That's him there. And we do need some flour because it has developed a bit of a stick. Yep, that was a mistake. And a little bit of flour on the pin. And then it's just this. And it's relaxed, but it's still got a springiness to it, so you do have to give it a good amount of force. We want it thin, but not too thin. Most of the flour's on this side. You're never going to get it as thin as the machine does, of course, especially at the ends. But that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're making a rustic pasta. It's actually quite thin. And that's how you make noodles. In the traditional way. A nice rustic tagliatelle. Let's widen this one out first. And then take it this way. I don't often make my own pasta, but I should. It's not that much work. It's a little bit of a mess with the rolling. The rolling is easy. It just makes a mess because of all the flour. I'm trying to rectangle this one out a little bit. And tagliatelle is the easiest one because this is how you cut it. You just kind of give it a wide, as even as you can get it, cutter with a roller, with a rolling blade like this. And the flour on the surface helps them from sticking to each other. You could freeze these guys into little individual serving nests if you wanted to make a whole bunch in advance. Or you could hang them and attempt to dry them. This is an egg pasta, so it's not going to be as shelf stable as a just flour and water pasta would be. If we form a little nest, you could freeze that. I made the second batch narrower than the first, and I think I'm actually going to recut a couple of these. Very awkwardly. So we have a little bit more of an even noodle on the plate. I don't really recommend this part. That one's fine. That one feels a little bit wide. That one's definitely fine. That one's short. That one's fine. But yeah, and then yeah, just a sort of twist and lift the middle, and you get little nests of pasta, which we will put on our pan. Set all of our stuffs aside. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that one. Still using those. And there they are. I'm going to cook both of these because I'm a hungry boy. And this is our birthday stream. Hungry birthday stream. But I'm also going to definitely clean up this flour before it gets anywhere else. We should think about the plate that we want to use today. What do y'all think? The dish is going to be red, not brilliantly red because we're cooking out the tomatoes quite heavily. Okay, that's that. Back over yonder. Let's make sure the bottom of this has not done any sticking. It has not. That is excellent. It is also thickening up pretty much exactly how I want it to. So let's throw in all of our seafood. Stir those through. Stir those through. Look dumbfoundedly at the fact that I put the lid in the sink and then piled all of the other stuff on top of it. What was I thinking? Because we need to re-lid at this stage. Just rinse that off. Because of course we need to re-lid in order to make sure that all of those fish steam in there and get cooked. Copious sums of money. Me too. I think I did at some. Well, no, this is the end of a shrimp that I got before shrimp prices went crazy. Which is why they were in a big block of ice, because they've been in there a while. This needs to boil. It's already got salt in it. We're going to make... We're going to switch pans. Because there's nothing much to look at for the... for the fish pot sauce back there at the moment. We also want to do a finishing. We're getting out another pan. We're going to do a finisher in the pan style here. With my favorite pan. Surprised this wasn't the first one I brought out. Surprised this wasn't the first one I brought back out. But that one is going to be the one that we finish our thing in, and we need the butter for that. Butter. butter. Just a wee bit of butter. Buttery. You ever just eat butter? Is that just me? Probably why I got the tummy. Just, you know, chomping on butter. It's a Wisconsin thing. Selling tickets to try the dish. Oh. Stretch out my shoulder. Put the basil away. We're gonna want some fresh parsley, which we have. That is a thing. It is available. Get off the twist tie. Twist tie be gone. Twist tie be gone. Fresh parsley. Cutting board. Big knife. You guys aren't looking at anything over there. Fresh parsley. We're gonna take that part and some of these longer stem bits. That bit gets set aside. This bit gets added to our fish marinara, our marinara. Because that is going to actually be able to cook through a little bit. Let's get that stirred in as well. The other part is going to be more of a topping parsley. This first bit is a flavoring parsley. Okay. I don't know how much I'd sell this for. I've never really done that. We're like, I know you guys are just kidding, but I've never really gone through that part. Like, how much would you charge for such a dish as I make? Because there's always an upcharge on top of the actual cost of making it. But I don't know. Like the way the price of shrimp has gone, this one might end up being quite expensive. And now we wait for the water to boil. Everything else is done-ish. There'll be a topping of some cheese. There will be a topping of some cheese. We're going to butter that pan. Yeah, don't come in my back door. It's right here. Look it out. There's a car right there. The neighbors, they park right in front of my door. We're waiting for that water to boil. And then fresh pasta cooks super mega ultra fast. So I should also get other things ready. A plate, for one thing. What plate are we using? What plate is the plate of today? What plate is the plate of the day? Blue oval, white square. Probably not red or black. I don't want to. I think black will de-emphasize the already kind of muted red of our sauce. I think white would help it jump out a little bit more. I think the dark blue one also would struggle, which is pushing us towards either a white circle or a white square. And I'm inclined for the square today. Maria agrees with the square. I will grab one. And then we are not, your guys are watching that pot, so it will not boil. That is how it works. As long as any person is observing a pot, that pot will never boil. And you know what? I hardly ever do drink pairings, but I would like to pour a wine to go with this one. And I know seafood and white wine are the traditional pair, but I feel like the tomatoes take us in the direction of a red, so a red it is. Ooh, a sherry would be nice. I will go put that by the photo station. Get out this pot holder. Oh. Okay, so this is freshly made fresh pasta. Brandy would be good. I don't think I want brandy to be the drink that I actually drink beside the seafood, like with the meal. I think that is a fine after meal dessert option. Also, I don't have any brandy. I have a rye. I have a sherry. This being our celebratory birthday thing, I may pour myself a scotch for my dessert. I don't drink scotch very often. I have one very nice bottle of scotch that I savor. I feel like birthday is the occasion to break it out and have a glass. I've even got a thing for it. I've got one of these. Fill it up to about there with scotch, swirl it around. A brandy, I'll have to pick up some brandy. Fortunately, I live in the land of brandy. Wisconsin loves its brandy. What is the scotch? The nice scotch that I have is Carl Isla. Um, I don't have a ton of it left. The scotch that I have is Carl Isla, and I only it's down to about that. It's down to about that much in the bottle. Because I don't drink it very fast, but I also haven't purchased it in quite a while because it ain't cheap. It ain't cheap. It is a very nice. Our water is boiling. Water at a vigorous boil. I'm actually going to take it down a little bit, but into the vigorous boil goes our fresh pasta, which I'm going to make sure isn't sticking to itself, because it will try to do that. And we push it around to make sure it doesn't stick at the bottom as well. Wisconsin does go for cheese. Wisconsin saved the brandy industry in America, which was essentially dying out everywhere, except the Wisconsinites just never gave up on it. The traditional old-fashioned, I didn't even know that an old-fashioned, the cocktail, was not typically made with brandy, because it is only made with brandy in Wisconsin. Mom! Comma, dinner with. And Dad. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You remembered. Okay, that pasta is probably cooked. Fresh pasta just takes a moment to cook. So we're going to pull it right into the butter pan. Like, it takes longer to boil the water than it does to cook the pasta. Put in the other nest, stir it around, bring us back to a boil. Check on our marinara. Give this a tossy toss. Now that's probably a good serving. Honestly, if I wasn't being greedy, that's probably a good serving. But we're being greedy today. And yeah, the pasta is definitely cooked. It literally just takes that long to cook fresh pasta, if you've never done it. Make sure to get all of them out of there. That heat goes off. We need the pot holders, both of them. I've lost both of them. I've got one of them. Where's the other one? I left the other one in here. I don't know why. We got to get rid of this boiling water. Boiling water is gotten rid of. Our pasta noodles are going to go on this hot burner that is not actively on. But we are finishing in the sauce. Oops, spilled a little bit of our sauce. I'm scooping up the juiciest parts of the sauce, which should combine with the starch from the noodles and the butter to give us a reasonably thickened, glossy sauce. Now, I didn't blend our tomatoes and vegetables, so it's always going to be a little bit chunky. But I think that's the dish. I'm going to grate some cheese on the plate. Because I don't want the cheese sticking to the pan. I will throw in some parsley now. Fresh parsley, stir that in. And tongs for serving. Slide over. Yeah, the pasta water, it's not worth saving pasta water, but if you're making pasta, the pasta water should be part of the project. Because that perfectly starched, lightly seasoned water makes your monster grow. makes your sauce sing. That was a Power Rangers quote. If you didn't catch that out of nowhere, no context, no preamble, Power Rangers quote, that's what that was. I didn't want to put cheese on the pasta in the pan because in a steel pan, the cheese tends to like to stick to the, and I'm using all of it, to stick to the pan, and then you get like a skin of cheese on the bottom. I am not skilled enough to get it to not do that, hence I don't make cacio e pepe. We are going to take some of our decorative seafood pieces and put them at the top, though. At least shrimps and salmons and an oyster. There you go, one oyster. There. And lots of this left over for the future. fresh parsley, and I already got the cheese out. Cheese. Can I do traditional carbonara? Yeah, I actually love doing a traditional carbonara. They don't take very long. That's one of the. I'm always cognizant of things that don't take a lot of time, because if my stream is super short, Twitch gets mad. The nature of this format means I have to kind of shoot for things that take around somewhere between an hour and a half and 3 hours. We're going to put all of that parsley in the rest of the sauce. I've definitely mountained up the cheese a bit. Can't see any oysters. Clean up this side a smidge. Clean up that side a smidge. Yeah. Okay, let's go take our photo and then I'll come back and consume. This dish already has its own name, so I don't have to come up with a name. I do have to come up with a phone. Ah, there we are. Okay, and we return. And we return. It's a mountain of food. And the dish's name, yes, exactly. Isosceles, hello, welcome. Tagliatelle alla marinara. Mariner's tagliatelle. Marinara in the more literal sense of the term. Grab some of our delicious fishes and Now that is my happy place. It's also a lot of ums because my mouth is full, and it takes some chewing to get through. Fresh pasta is chewy, bouncy, toothsome. Pasta got first credit there, yeah. I mean, you can see by the water forming at the bottom of the pan. The sauce is a little bit on the thin, because I didn't blend in any of the stuff in. It's the shrimp was good too. It's savory. It's salty. It's kind of briny. It definitely is fish forward, but not like fishy. It balances out with the acidity and the savoriness and the umami of the tomatoes. It's not. It's actually kind of a light thing. It's a lot of flavor, but it's not overwhelming. Having it on a lot of pasta actually helps. I think it's probably a wee bit more intense just all on its own. Let me give it a sampler there. Oh my god. Actually, not that intense over there either. It's just, it's it's all those things I just said, but it's not like super intense. Everything is like a 7 out of 10 in intensity, which means you can just have another bite, which means you can just have another bite, which means you can just have another bite. The pasta is bouncy and chewy. Fresh pasta is way easier to get to that perfect like al dente because it doesn't start out hard. It starts out soft, so it firms up as you cook it. I mean, look at this. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. A tagliatelle. The easiest of all the noodles. I mean, I suppose the easiest of all the noodles is just a big sheet, but and the fresh parsley, man, it just tastes like Italy. That's what it is. This just tastes like seaside Italy. The freezer burned shrimp is a little bit freezer burned. Happy birthday. Exactly. Tagliatelle is, I don't have time for this. What does it actually mean? Oh, it literally just means cut. It is cut pasta. It is a conjugation of the Italian word tagliare, meaning to cut. It is just cut up pasta. Yep. No, that checks out. The Italian words for pasta shapes are super just literal descriptions of the pasta shapes. Always. Anyways, that's our show today. Have some wine. I think a red for the red sauce is a good pairing. Otherwise, normally seafood is paired with a white. I did use white in the actual sauce. I think if I'd used red in the sauce, it would have perked up the. Well, it would have got a lot more tannic flavor. I think it would have perked up the color a little bit. It ended up not being super duper red, despite all those tomatoes. Oh, how'd you score the things? I really like fresh pasta. I think the fresh pasta is a supporting player. It got first mention because it is a strong textural element here. I think it's a supporting player. I think first billing goes to, honestly, I think first billing goes to the oyster, even though I didn't actually bite one, because there's that briny flavor shot through this whole thing, and I bet you that's coming from that oyster liqueur. The liquor. Liquor? I hardly oyster. I'm sorry, that was just terrible. We should actually directly eat one of the oysters to make sure that I'm not imagining things. That's where it's coming from. That briny flavor. That briny flavor is coming from the oysters. It is just like shot through the whole sauce. Way more intense in the actual oyster, but there's a little bit of it through. Unless that's the anchovies I'm tasting. It is a seaside thing. So I would move pasta down below the sauce, one. Shrimp definitely takes a string after that because it was kind of freezer burned. Still tastes fine, but anyways, I just had fun today. This one was just a have fun, make something I want to be tasty. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to me. Marinara. Two good birthday dinners indeed. Let's see who's on for raids. Is Chef on? Earth Toast is on. We could go say hi to Earth Toast for the third week in a row. Switch to followers. Chef is also on. Making, I'm not sure what. Looks like they're about done. Ish. Plating up. No, that's a mixing bowl. I'm not sure what they're making. I'm working on it, Bob. I had a busy week still. I'm writing Chef. We didn't see Chef last week. Yeah. I got nothing more to say. Y'all have been great. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you for showing up, sticking around, etc. All that. What are the plans? Use stuff out of the freezer. When? At times. I promised Jay some poutine. He was non-committal, but I promised. Use up that corn. I gotta use up those periwinkles. That was delicious. I have leftovers, so I can do it again. I'm not making fresh pasta for the leftovers. We'll just use dry pasta, which I also have. I also made a mess. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, not much more to say. Countdown's approaching. Let's all go say hi to Chef. Meh. There's the countdown. Bye.